Welcome back to the Hang and Hunt podcast. We actually just were on a solid, probably like a 10-minute discussion
It
on.
was serious discussion.
It was as serious as we can get on, on reminiscing on hunts and important things to bring with you to hunting camp. We'll clip that in here so you can hear it. Don't mind the audio. It's just like the on-camera mic, but it was definitely worth listening to, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about our good friend Hunter and his he's on a fast track to diabetes.
He is going to get that sugar. So check that out. There you go. There are always snacks readily available in my pouch.
Where is Hunter?
Yes. Hunter is a snacker. I had to warn Hunter that, like, bro, you're going to get diabetes.
Diabetes?
You're going to get the sugar.
Dude, when I saw some of those stories that he was posting, because when he was with us hunting here, a couple months ago, he snacked a little bit. But then as soon as you guys went to Ohio...
Bro, the snacking shoes were off.
Yeah. Did he go to Costco and get Little Debbie's?
He came in to camp. We were staying at this, like, really nice little log cabin.
Mm-hmm. Romantic.
It was. Well, I set that up on purpose. I swore up and down that heart-shaped jacuzzi was an accident, but it was not. I got in there. Oh, you didn't bring your bathing suit? Well, shucks. I thought I told you. Just climb on in.
He had his first light undies on there, I bet.
Well, at first. After some snacks, though.
Yeah, that guy really.
Dude, he
goes all out.
He rolled into our log cabin with more snackies, as he calls them, more snacks than any local general store had in its inventory. I mean, dude, he had like limited edition snacks. He had snacks from across the pond. He had snacks. I'm like, dude,
Kinder Buenos. What is that?
I'm like, what is this cool like chocolate contraption vehicle?
The ridiculous part about it. Okay, so he brought a lot, right? But the ridiculous part is that he ate all of it.
Yeah, they were gone.
Gone, smoked all.
Yeah, and to the point where he had like snack medleys, where he was taking like an Oreo. I think he took an Oreo and like mushed it into an oatmeal cream pie and ate it.
And then he deep fried it in the saddle.
Yeah. He brought his little pocket fryer out. Talk about gear, bud. The Jetboil fryer in the tree stand. So Sam Sohol, you have nothing on frying snacks. Dude, it was crazy. I mean, I'm like, and people out there might find this hard to believe. I'm not a sweets guy. I'm a meat and potatoes and carbs guy. Like,
it's the amount.
Yeah, and alcohol.
You're a volume guy.
And I'm a drinker.
Oh, a little bit.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Taylor. This is my 78th meeting.
I've been sober for 26 minutes, as Wheeler Walker says.
Yeah, since I got out of detox last night. No, but Hunter's snack game was like next
strong.
level.
Definitely strong. What's up?
Well, those show 0, 0, 0.
Yeah, we're not recording.
No. And
we live now, shouting.
Welcome back to the Hanging Hunt Podcast. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed that, and glad we got the microphones back on now.
Yeah, it's like hitting that double record.
Yeah,
did you get it? Yeah. Did you get it? No,
well,
I didn't.
You did that with a hammer buck this year.
Yeah, those 2 deer. I shot 2 bucks this year and
double punched it.
Double punched. That's when I'm shaking.
That's how Hunter's going to be shaking before he gets his insulin. Not to poke fun at anybody out there that has that diabetes, but Hunter's well on his way to earning it.
Yeah, well, when you earn it, you can poke fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's when people are born with it. It's like, all right, I'm not going to tease you about
it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some essential gear that we like to bring into the woods every time we go and hunt. And, I mean, we could even talk about a couple things that are, those outliers that, maybe we want to bring in. But this is really the down and dirty. We're not going into the woods without them.
Yeah, and I think, to me at least, we have a couple different categories of that gear, right? There's gear that we've been using for 10, 12 years, whatever, like always with us.
Yep.
Then there's gear that, we've tried out, we really like. It's like earned its spot in our stuff, like our staples. And then there's some gear that we're testing out, and
like brand new tech stuff. That we've
new
just
tech
started using.
that we started using. New stuff, prototype stuff. Part of the cool stuff that we get to do is like really R&D gear, broadheads, arrows, saddle stuff, like whatever it is. Because we're able to hunt year round, it works out well that we're able to test stuff and provide our feedback on it, even though we're cavemen.
Especially because I'm so hard on gear.
Billy is a
The worst.
Neanderthal when it comes to gear.
It's the brow. It's
But if you want stuff durability tested, you're
this
the guy.
I am. I destroy things. Phones. It doesn't matter.
My truck.
Well, I think that was probably one of the worst I ever felt hanging out with you and hunting. It was a pretty new truck. You probably had 20,000 miles on that truck.
Oh, I doubt it.
If that.
Yeah.
If that. And I had a set of sticks, and you said something to me right when I was right behind your truck, and I just had them on my back, and I turned, and the edge of that stick just caught and
nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
I was like, it's cool, it'll buff out. Okay.
You're like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I could tell in your face you were just like, I want to shoot you now.
I was bummed.
Yeah, you were so bummed that within a week you sold that truck.
I did.
Because it had a scratch that wasn't, well, that's 6 inches, right? So it was a 6-inch long scratch.
I thought that was 12.
It could be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it happens, but I'm like really anal.
Very.
And so here is this like giant truck, and the only thing I see on it's a scratch. I remember I took that to a place to get it like buffed out. I actually got it like repaired, and then they were unable to buff it out. The dude was like, it's not gonna look. And I was like, okay, whatever.
It went down to the metal.
Yeah.
You're not buffing that out.
It was, but actually it was fine. I did keep that truck for about another year, but then I was like, see ya. When they offered to buy it back, take it away. I can't see it. Yeah, that was a bummer. But yeah, you are hard on gear. You're a good product tester.
Yeah, I beat it up.
That was the best 4 seconds of her life.
Yeah, that included 2 seconds of me crying in the corner.
Yeah, and then 15 minutes of her being like, are you okay? There were some weird noises being made there. I've never heard those. What? Are you part chimpanzee?
No, Neanderthal.
Yeah, Neanderthal. It's funny is I was listening to a Meat Eater podcast one time, and apparently Neanderthal is pronounced Neanderthal.
Yes, not for me.
Yeah, well, me either. But I've made a point now, anytime I say it, to say Neanderthal because it makes you sound more distinguished and learned. However, other people, they don't know that that's how it's pronounced, and they think you are an idiot. So forevermore, it will be Neanderthal.
I can pronounce things appropriately, right? It's the rest of the things that I say that make me look a little iffy.
It's my actions.
They don't match up with my voice.
My actions are as my wife would say, just I'm a man-child.
You're a man-child. She said it earlier.
Yeah, I am.
It's a man-child.
She's just in this like perpetual level of hate with me. This is whether it's a 1 or a 10 depends on the hour.
It's just like Hunter and his sugars. That was her choice. She chose to marry you. Baby, you were born this way.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, I'm not sorry. You're in this now, boo boo.
Yep.
So, when you think of your top pieces of gear, and we actually we did our homework for this. We actually put thought to this.
Yeah. I spent a good 3 minutes on like the rest of my homework that I did in college.
My homework actually has my daughter's doodling on this as well. I'm reusing. This is a recycle.
Recycle,
Yeah. So the first thing I have on here on my list, I don't know about yours, bows and arrows. Bows and hoes. What in your mind? So, obviously, we both love our Matthews bows. I remember being very jealous of you actually a long time ago.
When I had my switchback.
Dude, your wife bought you.
Oh, yeah.
A helium. And I was like, whoa, that is a woman.
She's solid. She's solid.
Your wife bought you a bow as a surprise. My wife, not buying me a bow.
No. She might want to cut a few bow strings.
There might be one like behind her car, smashed to pieces. Don't. Yeah. Hopefully she's not watching this. Don't let her know that cutting the strings makes it bad. and unusable.
She's smart enough to know that. She's just waiting, and she's not going to cut one bowstring. She's going to cut all
of
the
them.
bowstrings. Yeah.
Like, well, as we sit around here, there are a bunch of bows hanging up. We're going to come down. They're just all. Yeah. So one of the things that I switched to this year, I started hunting with a hinge release, and so that to me has been really beneficial, I think. Now, hinges are scary. Or I guess if you're not an experienced hinge shooter, they can be scary. And what I did was I picked a hinge that has a safety on it, a manual safety, because, you know, one of the scenarios that I kept coming back to was like, if I'm all contorted in the tree, I don't want to have to draw a certain way and potentially have like a negligent discharge, right? Or an accidental discharge. So,
or extra movement.
Exactly. I don't want to have a potential for failure here if I can avoid it. So the manual safety was a big deal. I think that's cool. I settled on the True Ball. I think it's a Sweet Spot 2. I love it.
Yeah. I shot that in your yard, and that was the first time I had ever shot a hinge release, and I shot back tension before. And I was a little worried in a hunting situation that a hinge may have too much of a surprise release, but then I realized it's more of a rotation. When it's going off, as opposed to, I can't calculate in my mind, okay, now I'm at 16 pounds of pressure to have that release, right?
Yeah.
But I did, and I shot very well immediately with it.
Yeah. And so what I really like about the hinge is I feel like now, I feel like you get over this crest, and once you trust the hinge, you get comfortable with it. Now, all you have to worry about is aiming. And so, like, I know, and I kind of tell myself, like, just keep the pin where you need it to go, and the whole back half is taken care of. I'm just focused on the pin, right? And so that, to me, has been awesome. It definitely took a little while to get used to, like, hunting with a hinge. The first couple deer I shot with it, I was really kind of sketchy, but I love having the ability to like not worry about punching the trigger. I can actually take that out of
it's one
worry.
Less factor.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I literally just it's kind of funny, but remember those old like laser guided missiles from like Desert Storm era, like all the war movies from growing up. I picture my sight pin as like that laser guided of like the scout team sniper that like crept up there that's like holding the laser on the target. So like in my mind, that's my job. It's like just hold the pin,
hold it there, and then let the equipment do the work.
Exactly.
And you take away a lot of the human factor if you can just focus on one thing.
Yeah,
right?
And just focus on the process, right? And you know, you and I mentioned before, like we both competed at relatively high levels in sports, and I don't know if you ever had any like sports psychology or anything, but like in highly, highly stressful situations, if you just focus on the routine and the process, like that's the best way to have high levels of success. Same with like martial arts, which you do a lot of, and you know, you have this like repetitive motion that you just do over and over again until it becomes like subconscious.
As opposed to a deer walking in, you say, "Oh my gosh, there's a deer. That's a big buck. Let me score it." Look, you're going through that thing in your mind, but you never look at your target and say, "Oh, that's a big target."
Right.
You know, you're going,
exactly.
I saddle. And that's the exact mantra. People talk about a mantra they go through when they're shooting. It's the same thing you do when you're hunting, whether it's a deer or a squirrel or a target, it doesn't matter. You go through that same mental mantra.
Yeah, and you focus on the process, not the outcome.
Yeah.
The outcome that you want will happen, but focus on the details. And so I just think a hinge like really has helped me with that. It's been a little weird to get used to, you know, having it on my wrist instead of having just a release clip to my D loop. But whatever.
But, you know, that's a good segue into just trusting your equipment and putting, you know, the best equipment in there, so you don't have to worry about it. It's a great segue into arrows, for example. There was a point where I was shooting fairly lightweight arrows, under 400 grains, and it's been a long time. It's been a decade now, but now I'm pushing 600 grains, and I'm not as worried about certain shots.
And that's a relatively short arrow. compared to me, right? So how long is your arrow?
They're 27 inches.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's a 27 inch, from the valley of the nock
Yeah.
to the end of the arrow.
Yep.
It's 27 on the dot, and I'm shooting the day 6. They're 300s, right?
Yeah, I think they're
They're 300s, and I've got the 100 grain insert outsert and 125 grain
broadhead.
Yep,
I'm running the same setup. I got obviously my arrow's a little longer. I'm carbon to carbon, or valley of the nock to the front of the carbon. I'm 29.5 inches, and then I'm running the 55 grain outsert because longer carbon. I wanted to be around that 550, 565 grain mark. I think that's like a pretty good balance of speed and weight. But running the 55 grain outsert and then 125 grain broadhead also, same one. And those arrows are awesome.
Yeah, no, they're devastating. The first buck that I killed this year, I made that amateur mistake that everyone does when they're running a single pin sight. I was shooting at the house at 30 yards, and I got to full draw on this buck, and it was under 20, and I could see in my periphery that it was not on 20.
At least you caught it.
But I didn't have time to adjust, so I just aimed lower. I didn't aim low enough, and I did hit the shoulder blade, and it went through both shoulder blades, and it did obviously caught lung, and the deer piled up very, very quickly. But there's no way. I've hit deer in the shoulder before with a 400 grain arrow, and I've lost deer hitting in the shoulder. This deer, I was very impressed with that setup, and I really haven't had to deal with much of a trajectory difference going up, 50 to 75 grains in my total arrow weight. So the speed, I think, is irrelevant at that point. I think a heavy arrow, rock solid broadhead, good front of center, I think those things are really important.
Totally agree. And the fact that people talk about trajectory, it's like, well, you got a pin. Put the pin where the arrow's hitting. I mean, we're not trying to shoot a telephone pole, right? Like there is, at least in my opinion, and people out there will argue this, but like there is a point of diminishing return where you're too heavy, where it is causing, like this big of a gap, 12-inch gap
Shooting
between 20 and 25,
at 25 yards, right?
But that 550 to 650 grain area, I think, is like awesome.
Yeah.
With a 18, or percent or higher FOC and a big fixed blade broadhead on the front of it.
Tough as nails.
Hard to
Do you know who the guy, his name is Marv, I think it's Marv Klinke. He's a trad bow shooter, and he shoots like a 90-pound longbow, right? But he shoots bow fishing arrows with giant blades. I mean, it's like a 1,400 grain arrow, right? I think now for him it works, right? Because he's a monster, and he shoots big game, huge game everywhere, right? But for the general public, if you're in that range, that 600 grain arrow is a heavy arrow.
Yeah,
that's a really heavy arrow. I think IBO standard is like 350. It's like five grains per pound, right? I mean, you're almost doubling that when you get up to the 600s and things like that. So I really like that. I really like to just, like you said, with the hinge, with those heavy arrows, with those solid broadheads, with all of your equipment being, it takes away a lot of the human factor, things that you don't have to worry about. Am I going to get enough penetration? I want to take those human elements out and let the gear do the work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the only penetration I'm worried about now is like pulling my arrow out of the ground, right?
On the other side, right?
Yeah, on the other side of an arrow, because it's like of an animal, because I do not have to worry about these like half penetration shots. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I shot an animal and the arrow wasn't a full pass through.
Sure.
Like I literally don't.
Yeah, I mean, even like, that quartering away shot where you hit that opposite front leg, it blows through it and you still get a full pass through. That's exactly what I want.
Oh yeah.
On every shot, I want a full pass through no matter what. And is my setup overkill for a 70-pound doe at 20 yards, perfectly broadside? Sure. But is there such thing as overkill?
No, because here's my opinion on that. You need to have the setup that's able to blow through the toughest part of that 70-pound doe. If I somehow don't do my job, or somehow that arrow does not get placed perfectly, I want a arrow and equipment that's going to do the job in the most forgiving of circumstances, right? And so that's what I look for in a broadhead also. I want the most forgiving broadhead possible. So if it's hitting the knuckle of her shoulder, the hardest spot to go through, I want it to destroy that, go through, hit the heart, tear up everything, blow through the opposite side, and come out. And now she's running away like a snowplow, and she's going to go 30 yards and be toast.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about broadheads and our gear selection, we have to minimize the potential for any step the deer can take that it doesn't have to. Because the difference in 30 yards, 50 yards, 150, 500 yards
on a blood trail
is night and day.
100%.
Yeah, on a recovery.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And it's really important to put them down immediately. And if you do hit bone, especially heavy bone. And years ago, I remember shooting a deer and lighter arrows, and I shot a deer, and it was back pretty far. The intestines, that stuff kind of, it moves around a lot more than anything forward of the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So it can actually slow down even the sharpest broadheads, slow down those arrows, and you can sometimes not get a pass through even through the intestines. So
it's like ballistic gel. It's literally
exactly.
like catching
There's a give, and
Yeah.
I totally agree. You want to have that's a standard. You want to have a hole going in and a hole going out.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially when you're talking from, 18, 20, 25 feet up, I want that exit hole. I want that blood pumping out low because, there have been a handful of recoveries that we've been on, God, probably more than our fair share of recoveries that we've been on, where you hit them high lung and the deer is toast and there's no blood.
At least for the first 40 yards.
Yeah, until that lung fills up or those lungs fill up and start actually getting out. And if you think about it, it's not the broadhead's fault. So many people are like, oh, this broadhead leaves a terrible blood trail. It's like, okay, well, you shot 2 deer with it. You spined them or your shoulder. You hit them somewhere
right.
that you're not going to get a bunch of blood. Or the opposite of that is, you poke one like in the heart and have that like lower third exit hole.
Yeah, where it comes out like the opposite armpit or something.
And it looks like I have your water bottle. I'm like, woo!
Well, that's a great little hand gesture you got there.
It's a party.
Are you rolling dice or doing something else?
I was throwing bones. I don't know what you're talking about. That's definitely not how I pledged the fraternity. Do the elephant walk again pledge. I'm a junior.
But I'll volunteer. I'll show you how it works.
Do you guys need an extra volunteer?
You have an odd number. I'll go in.
Yeah. I'll go twice. The next thing I wrote down here, speaking of elephant walking, is my saddle. Right? To me, and we've talked about this in the past, like the saddle is one of the most, if not the most important piece of gear to us for what we're doing in the burbs, but also just in general hunting wise.
Yeah.
Between all the properties that we hunt and how flexible we have to be to go places and deal with property owners and, kind of chasing the deer and trying to intercept them, whatever.
In a lot of places where we can't put a fixed stand.
Yeah, we don't want the visibility.
We're not allowed to. We don't want the visibility. We don't want kids climbing trees, things like that.
Yeah, and the saddle is just essential for that. And also the fact that, like, if you have a property that's a postage stamp, and some of the properties that we're hunting on as small as a 1/4 acre, and there might be 2 trees there, and one is as big around as this wall, and then one is like this big, right? And you're not getting a climber up those. You're not. Could you put a lock on it? Maybe, but the saddle is just a way better way. Just go up there, hang and hunt. Climb up. Your system is the same regardless of if it's a prep tree or if you're climbing it for the first time. It's totally versatile. God, I've been in trees where I've been so high up that my fat butt is like bending the tree, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to break. And like, not only is it going to break, people are going to look at like my body and then look up at the broken tree and be like, what was he thinking? Like, of course that broke because the size was cankle. Like, what are you doing?
I've had people ask me also, why are you going, if there are no trees or if you've got poor trees, why are you even going in them? And it's because we need to be up, so we're shooting down so we can virtually eliminate any ricochets or lost arrows.
Absolutely.
In
And
these backyards.
the deer are smart. Like, if you're just standing next to the like Leland cypress, like, they're not gonna be like, what's old tuna fish doing over there? See you, two-legger, right?
Yeah.
So the saddle, and it's been so fun to watch the evolution of saddles.
Yeah.
Right. To go from the
hammocks that we were using,
ATV cover size.
right?
It was so big, that trivia line was, and to go from the OG to kind of ride through some of the ones that were made there and recently, and then all the way, it's like, boom, the tethered stuff, and it was so fun to help kind of design those and play with them and provide feedback. And now to get to the Phantom is just freaking killing it, man.
Yeah.
Like, that saddle is so comfortable. And one of the things that Tethered came out with this year, I don't know if you've even had a chance to play with these a lot, but I did, the 8mm ropes.
Yeah, I haven't. I've seen them. So what are the benefits of having those thinner ropes?
Well, thinner sometimes can be better.
Sometimes.
I love the fact that they pack up into like the size of your fist. And so instead of those 11mm ropes, when I'm like trying to shove them back into my cis hauler, they're just balled up in my hand. They go right in there.
And you can fit, a couple ropes in
Down
as
to
opposed
two
to
of them.
one.
Yeah. And so that's like, it's just less bulk. It's less gear.
Weight.
Yeah. And it's one less thing kind of like flopping around on the side of you to potentially get you pegged or have an animal see it. So
Get you pegged.
Get you pegged. Shout out Nick Yates.
So the essential gear that we talked about, your bow,
Yep.
your setup, your bow, arrows, all that, your saddle, and the way to get up into the tree.
Yeah.
If I don't have those three things,
You're not hunting.
I'm turning around, right? I'm going for a scouting trip.
Yeah.
So those three things. So what's your current climbing method? Because you've gone through
Sticks.
everything.
Yeah. So I'm a lot of the spots, even if, well, let's kind of go on the journey of it. I used to prep all of my trees, our trees, whatever, with those like metal, cheap, steel, like Gorilla.
Yeah, they were the rapid rails, I think. Yeah.
Big Game made them for a while. You could. I used to go to
Or
like,
those, or like the 20-foot sticks.
Yeah, but I liked the ones that had the 3 steps and they were individual because
Yep.
you kind of like work them around the tree. And I would always spray them with Rust-Oleum because they rust like a SOB. But I would go to like Dick's, Gander Mountain, Bass Pro, whatever, and buy them all at the end of the year. And I just felt like they were kind of more trouble than they're worth, right? They're out all year. They're rusting.
Straps go bad.
They grow into the tree. The little standoffs start bending in. They're all rusty. The other thing I didn't like about them was I felt like they made me lazy. And so what would happen inevitably would be I'd go to a spot to hunt, and I'd go like, okay, I think those deer are going to come out over by the,
hole in the fence.
whatever. Yeah. And I should go climb that tree right by it that's like, perfect. And I'd be like, I don't really feel like climbing that
I
tree.
can put sticks up, or I can just go 40 yards away and go into my pre-prep tree.
Exactly. And then I'd go there, and then I'd watch deer come out exactly where I knew they were going to come out. And, maybe I shoot one, maybe I don't. But the hunt would have been much more efficient if I hadn't been lazy in going to what's easy. And it's just so easy to take the easy route or go to that
And
tree.
then you went to like 4. At one point, you were running 5 of the big Lone Wolf sticks.
Yep.
And then how has it evolved now? Because now you're running a 1-stick system, right?
Yeah. So I was running and I still bounce back and forth if like I have a camera guy with me, or if like you and I are hunting out of the same tree, we'll put up sticks. But I've been loving the 1-stick climbing method because it's kind of like a climber. You can't fall. You can go all around the different limbs and branches or whatever. Like you can climb any tree, and it is so fast. And what I really love is during the hunt, even if it's a super fast hunt, I can use the top of the stick as my platform. So I don't even need to bring a platform in. It's super light. It's fast. Wham, right up the tree. I'm up in like 3 minutes in some circumstances. You can get really high up in like 3 moves. I mean, I'm able to get about 7 to 8 feet per move, which is, pretty good. Almost to the point where I'm like, sometimes I think I'm too high up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, I need to get a little, whatever. And at the end of the hunt, I just rappel out. And it's so
You're fast.
I don't have to, I lower my bow. I clip my, string or my cord to the back end of my rappelling system. I go down about 5 feet, grab my stick, put it on my butt, and go whee, and I'm done. And then I just pull the rope down, and I'm out of there. And for me to be able to just get in and out, like very quickly, to have everything I need on my body, super, light, super fast, no noise. One thing that just always drove me nuts is like you get down to the tree, you're like packing up your ropes, and you take your sticks and you put your sticks back together, and then you put your platform back and you put your whole system in. And like for me, I'm super anal, so I'm like taking my time to get everything back and kind of OCD about it. And it's just like, man, I can just rip out of this tree. I can take my rope, I can ball it up, put it on my pouch, done.
And it's easy, quick,
awesome, yeah,
and efficient.
And I've loved that. I mean, it's not for everyone, but it is good. For a monkey like you, you would love it.
I still haven't done it. I use an aider, and it cuts down on the number of sticks I have to use. I only use 3 short sticks now, and I'm getting my feet at 18 feet.
Yeah.
And that's right around the, where I want to be. If I use the second aider, which I've done many times, I can get a lot higher, but typically I like to be my head at 24, 26 feet, somewhere around
and
there.
those Timber Ninja sticks that you're running are awesome. I think they're really innovative. I love the built-in aider that they have. I run those a good bit. I think they're great sticks. I think the one sticks are great. I mean, we're in the age of sticks right now.
Yeah.
There's great options out there for you.
And you're not hauling in 15 pounds of sticks anymore.
I mean, it's funny. I was laughing the other day to myself, which I do often. I was taking my one sticks out, the tethered one sticks, and I took one on the tree, put it there, and I put 3 on my left hip. And I thought to myself, the amount of weight that I have in 3 sticks is what one of those lone wolves used to be. And I was like, wow. And then,
and that weight, when it's distributed all over you, it's not like carrying a 25-pound tree stand like the climbers used to be. Right. 20 plus pounds, the steel ones, it's not like that, but still you have this stuff hanging off of you, and especially if there's limbs and things going up, you want to have things compact. So fewer sticks helps, lighter sticks that you can just strap onto you and have no issues. Those things add up.
Well, yeah, and it's just like we're talking about with releases and less potential for failure in that regard. There's just less stuff to make noise, less stuff to clank around, less stuff to potentially fail. I mean, it's just keep it simple.
The packs and clothing that we use, the little other bits and pieces of gear that we bring into the stand that, they're important, I think that the 3 that we talked about, how to get into a tree, your bow set up.
Well, also, what do you do when you're up in the tree too? Because
that's exactly where I was going with it. Yeah. So, because me, I'll show up and I'm like, oh, all I brought was my bow, my saddle, and my sticks.
And a bloody arrow.
Yeah, right? And, I get to the tree and I start climbing. I'm like, I don't have a pull rope to pull my bow up. Or I get up top and I'm like, yep, I can't hang my shit because I didn't bring my HYS strap, know? So I've had to be innovative with those things. But those little pieces make your hunt so much better and so much easier and so important.
Yeah, and like having a system for me, like that's a super big part of that. Is like I know where my pull rope is. It's in my sys hauler pouch. I know where my his strap is. Like it's always in the same spot in my bag. And that way I just kind of, I almost do it like subconsciously.
Sure.
Because it's just something we do all the time, and I keep it in that spot for that exact reason of like I don't ever want to look in there and be like, oh, we used that his strap on our duck hunt and I didn't put it back. It's like on Billy's boat or whatever,
Right.
you know?
There was a time when I would take all of my gear and throw it into a tote at the end of a hunt. And then I knew it was all in the tote, right? But I would pull out, like, let's say it was really cold that day. Well, the next day, maybe it's warmer, and I pull out lighter clothes out of that tote, and then my strap's not in there. My pull rope's not in there. So I took a note out of your book, which you're so anal about all of your gear, where it goes, and, like, you know, to the point where I'm like, all right.
Look, Taylor broke out in hives because his binos were backwards.
But I did start to put things in very specific places, so now I don't lose things as much. But that is something that, you know, I'm the opposite of you when it comes to anal. I'm like, whatever, as long as I can get in the tree.
Your frontal.
As long as I can kill a deer, you know, and then I'm okay. But once I started to organize myself a little bit better, that was kind of a game changer for me.
Yeah, you don't have to be like super anal, but you can have a somewhat of a system or a routine of like what you put on when, how you go about it, how you store your stuff. I find that is really, really helpful.
People talk about also, some people say, well, why do you guys, you know, run more high-end camo clothing? You're just going to the burbs. Why do you need First Light in someone's backyard, right? And my wife is also a hunter, and I decked her out in First Light gear, and she's like, I don't need this. I only hunt, you know, 10 or 20 times a year. I don't need his high-end gear. She used it one time, and she said, this is really well thought out.
Yeah.
You know, just the way that the sleeves, the cuffs on the sleeves, you can put your hands in your pockets, and the pockets are almost like hand warmers. And the way the zippers, you know, you can, like I love the bibs. So, but the way that I can unzip all of the bibs all the way out and all the way down and keep that air going. And there's so many little features that are so well thought out that those systems that I run are really critical.
Well, and that's the key that you hit on is it's a system.
Yeah.
Right. And they're all pieces that work together with each other. And so, so often I get DMs on Instagram or emails where people are like, if you only could buy one piece of First Light clothing, what would you get? I'm like, base layers.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what, but other than base layers? I'm like, no, dude, like, because it's a system and it does you no good if you just buy the jacket because you want to look cool with the camo pattern that people recognize as First Light. Like the camo works great. And
you have to have a foundation.
It's a system. Exactly. It's like having the walls of a house that aren't on anything. And when people go like, oh, you're just hunting backyards, like, what do you need a First Light, you know, decked out kit for? I'm like, well, dude, I need the First Light kit probably more than anybody else does. Or we need the First Light kit better because we're hunting from days where it's 110 degrees and 100% humidity, absolute miserable, sweaty soup outside, to days where it's 0 or below and everything in between.
And wind chills and rain and snow. And,
exactly. And you know, we're with the frequency that we hunt, it's very important to have that system to be able to use the layers as they're supposed to be worn, and the mid layers and the base layers and the outer shells, and be prepared. Because, dude, I think back to the days when I was hunting in my coveralls. I was miserable. You get to the tree, you're sweaty. Oh God! And then you get up and you freeze your balls off because you sweat it up. You know, sweat is the enemy, and that's where that wool comes in so handy. My wife, not a hunter, big runner, and she does the running for both of us. And you know, I got her some First Light base layers a while ago, and she was like, "These are amazing."
Yeah.
I'm like, duh, that's what they're made for. Like, you run, the sweat moves away, like it works just as fine.
When I went, I took First Light base layers on my elk hunt. The first time I wore them on an elk hunt 3 years ago, and I rolled out, walked out, and the guys in camp were like, "Why are you wearing wool base layers? It's 90 degrees outside." I said, "You are asking that because you've never done it."
Yep.
and I'm hiking up and down. Stayed totally dry the whole time. I was sweating, obviously. I stayed dry the whole time and stayed cool.
Yeah.
And they're long sleeve wool, but they're incredible.
They're
That's the foundation of the gear that I wear.
Oh yeah, and it's super important. I don't know how First Light ever has any inventory of their boxers because the wool boxers it's like I'm wearing angels. Little dirty angels.
I imagine they were nice and pristine before you put them on.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I got herpes.
Why am I brown? No, man, they're the most comfortable boxers. And to your point also, though, I think people have this like stigma or they just associate wool with like cold wool parka from 1940. Mm-hmm. They don't think about like when we're hunting in the summertime, we're wearing the wool, full wool. I mean, I love having the hood on it to keep the sun off my neck and to keep that like sheen. And dude, you sweat in it, it pulls it right away. You're like perfectly warm.
Socks
cool.
too. I wear wool socks. I wear their wool socks year round, and the different weights throughout the year. But I wear them year round, and I never realized that. In the summertime, when you're wearing boots, because I'm in landscaping, I'm outside every day, but when it's hot out, that insulative layer, it is wicking, but that insulative layer also keeps things from getting too hot. Yeah. It helps you regulate that temperature. So I think that gear is essential when it comes to being comfortable. I think comfort, that's the reason why I wear this stuff. It's a comfort level.
It is. It's super comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's just a great system, and you can dial it in. It takes a little getting used to. You got to wear the pieces, and I think the hardest thing, or one of the harder things for people that don't have a lot of experience with First Light, they're like, well, what temperature range does this jacket work for? And I'm like,
it doesn't work like that.
Well, I can't tell you. You can't tell me what you're comfortable in. Mm-hmm. You're more comfortable than I am. You could run hot. I could run cold. Whatever. It's up to the individual. Mm-hmm. But once you've worn the pieces and you've kind of mixed and matched and you get your system dialed, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can look at the weather and be like, okay, it's going to be 38 degrees with a 10-mile-an-hour wind today. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And I know exactly what I'm wearing. And I am like perfect the entire time I'm there. And it's funny because, the First Light slogan is go further, stay longer. Well, being in the tree and comfortable allows you to put more animals on the ground. If you're sitting there shivering in the snow and you're like not paying attention, you don't even want to pull your phone out. Like the odds of you caring when a deer walks by or whatever animal you're after, much lower,
Absolutely.
But if I'm sitting there, I'm toasty, like snug as a bug, and here comes, Dozilla 1 and 2, they're getting the shaft.
What kind of pack do you use? Now you posted, it was on Instagram. Yeah. You posted a pile of packs. There were like 30 packs because you've gone through so many. You're like, well, that still has the tags on it. I know that's not going to work. And, or you do use something for 10, 15 hunts and there's something about it you don't like. So what are you using now?
So great question. I am definitely a pack hack or pack whore. I have yet to find the perfect pack. For what I need a pack to do, it's really simple. We're walking 40 yards, 80 yards from our truck. I need to just carry my sticks, potentially, possibly have the ability to carry clothing, so if I'm going to layer up on a colder hunt, I keep like a face mask and a beanie in there just in case like I get cold or whatever. And then my camera gear, and that's it. And so I still have been messing around with different, and my platform, if I'm carrying a platform in. And that was actually another thing I wanted to touch on was the Predator XL compared to the Predator. I thought that I didn't need to mess with the platform at all, and that Predator XL is night and day better.
I've got to get one. I haven't used one yet.
Yeah, we'll get you on, and then we'll talk about it because, or you can grab mine on the way out, and we'll play with it. But so for packs, I like to have my stuff in a certain way because, some guys like to pack their camera base in the backpack, and I don't want to have the camera base in the pack with my camera to where it can possibly get like scratched up or messed up. So I'm currently running the Eberly Stock Bandit. And what I liked about that pack is the fact that it's got Molly all around the outside. So what I can do, I can put my Predator XL underneath this like Molly compression panel that it has, strap it down, and then on the sides I have my camera arm, and then I have the camera base. And what I did was I actually bought like a climbing dump pouch that's a little bigger, and it's got like Kydex all around, or Kedora all around it, so it's tough. So I can slip that newer base, the Fourth Arrow base. I forget what it's called, but it's like very mini. I just dropped that right in there, and it's like, that's been pretty good. But I'm currently messing around with another pack that I think might work better. So I'm going to have to report back. The thing I don't like about the Bandit pack is it's kind of like clunky having all that stuff on it, and the way that it's strapped down. Like, it works. I'd give it like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. It's definitely the best one that I've used so far. I like having the pocket up top to like put my headlamp in, or like little items I need to get to where I know exactly where it is. I like the way it zips down. I like that it doesn't have like the lumbar support or the like hip belt pouch, because that just gets in the way when I'm like putting it back on. So overall, I think that pack is like really close to exactly what I want. I also like that it had the Molly on the bottom, because what I did is I put my kill kit in a big pouch, and I put that on the Molly on the bottom. So like now my kill kit's in a zipper down there, because normally that would be in my hip belt. Like most of the packs I have would have a hip belt, and they'd have a little, zipper pouch on it. So
what's in your kill kit?
In my kill kit, I have bright eyes. So I keep I took a wine cork and I stuck a bunch of thumbtack bright eyes all in it, so I can pull them out. It's like easy, quick access. So if I find a tree that I want to hunt, I'll tack it. If I need to like come back to a blood trail, whatever, I can put markers there. It's just a great way to have. I have the original Buck 110 folding knife. I feel like everybody needs one of those. That was one of the first hunting items I bought for myself. I have a bunch of rubber gloves in there. I have a bunch of like minimal first aid stuff. So like, Band-Aids. I have a lot of wet wipes in my kill kit for when nature calls.
Not just to wipe your hands up after a kill, right?
Yeah, it's totally what they're for.
I'm going to replace them with the hand sanitizing ones, so just in case you do have to use them when nature calls, you're on fire.
God, man, I used to keep those Grime Boss ones in there.
Grime Boss, I'm not familiar.
Okay, there's a company called Grime Boss, and they're made for like auto mechanics.
Okay.
It is like sandpaper. Because it's made for like getting your
there's
hands.
grit in there. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had to use those out in the woods one time, and I felt like I wet sanded my butthole.
Well,
I guess I did.
You should have bleached it afterwards.
I did. Hi. Don't let the beard fool you. Hardwoods. So yeah, I mean the kill kit's like really pretty simple. I keep my normally what I'll do is, because I keep my deer sled in my truck. So that kill kit's really there just like in case. Yeah. That's not my main go-to in my truck. And I actually just recently kind of reorganized this, but I have like a whole bunch of rubber gloves, which were hard to find during COVID. I had to stock up on them. Fake a couple of ER visits, load them in. That's where I keep my main kill kit with like my main knives. But yeah, so I can go back to the truck, dump my stuff, grab the sled, come back in, dress and roll. And that's where I also keep the trash bags. So I keep a bunch of contractor trash bags in there in case I have to take in trails with me, which probably about half, maybe a little more than half the properties that we hunt on, we have to do that.
Remove the entrails after we field dress a deer.
Yeah.
And did I ever tell you about the time that I left some entrails in a cooler?
Oh.
Okay, so
God.
we were going on a hog hunt in Georgia, and my dad and my brothers came over. We were all going to carpool down, and they pulled up to the house, and my dad gets out, and he says, something died. I can smell that something died. And I said, yeah, I had shot 2 deer a week before.
Oh, God.
Okay, and I put the entrails in one big contractor bag, but there was so much weight in there in that one bag, I put it into a cooler in my backyard. And I said, oh, I know exactly what that is. And I walked around and I looked, and the lid was kind of fluttering up and down, and it was moving. I mean, there was, it was so bad. We were leaving right then.
Josh, grab an end.
So I said, well, I'll see you when I get back from the hog hunt. So we were gone for another 5 days. It's in the summertime. I came back. It was absolutely wretched.
Dude.
Wretched. When I took it to the...
I'm surprised your neighbors didn't call for like a wellness check or something.
They probably did. They probably did.
Probably like, yeehaw, that sucker's dead.
Yay, finally. Get that guy out of this
About
neighborhood. Yeah, I took it to the landfill, and when I went through, I must have had a good wind because they couldn't smell me. When I came back through to pay, they were like, what did you throw away? We need to know what you threw away. I was like, oh, it was
Her
a bunch
name was...
my ex-girlfriend. No,
actually, we're still in love.
I'll come back and see her tonight. Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
That's gross,
Yeah,
man.
so pulling out entrails. Now I've got a system. I don't keep them. Before I get home, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, a couple dumpsters that I have permission to dump them in, but
God
that's
bless
wretched.
local communal dumpsters.
Right.
I actually...
I go to your house and put it in your trash can.
Yeah, I wonder if you've been doing that. I made the mistake of, working in construction. I have access to a lot of dumpsters. And I remember we had a dumpster that was full. I saw it that day. It was totally full. I shot 2 deer. I took them home. I butchered them. I took the carcasses and like the skeletons. I roll up to the dumpster and I just go whoomp. And I remember throwing it in and just hearing nothing but hollow metal.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, no. And this is like July. And so I tried to tough it out. And we're like, doing electrical in the house. It's like there's no trash waste at this point. I don't know why they somehow pulled the dumpster at like 5 o'clock or so after I left.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably after like 10 o'clock. But, but yeah, I mean, that was a nightmare. That cost me $500. I had to get that
because you got it pulled, and it was virtually empty.
It was empty. There were 2 carcasses, like some electrical shavings in there. I was like, well, if anybody from the neighborhood needs to dispose of anything, you get a freebie.
There's a couple other things that I recently have been bringing almost every time. And we're going to get into like a hunt and work-life balance on another podcast, but I have to work from the tree stand.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's essential.
That's what I'm
getting my phone's always I'm blowing up right now. I know I need to make a phone call as soon as we're done, but I bring an external battery. That gives me my phone just dies quickly. It always does. And when it's cold outside, everyone knows it goes
from 40% to frozen.
It just goes. And then on top of it, I use my phone too. I'm checking wind. I'm checking property lines when I go in. It's an essential piece of gear. Plus, I'm working on top of it. So that's something that I don't leave home without.
Totally agree. Zippo just came out with, I think it's Zippo. I saw it at Costco recently. It's a hand warmer, but it's also an external battery.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I was like, that is sweet.
Getting one of those.
Yeah, of course I'm with my wife, so I'm like, squirrel. She's like, come on.
She's like, we're not going to Costco. And you're like, but I am.
Damn, quit eating crayons. Yeah.
Although Costco, when I leave, I always get a hot dog or a piece of pizza.
Dude, my
for
daughter.
like $1.
Yeah. And it's awesome. Although they put up the nutritional information next to the pizza. I'm like, guys, come on. Like, if I'm buying a hot dog from Costco,
I don't need the nutritional
a slice of everything pizza, I don't care. Like, look at me.
I've already made my decisions.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like Hunter. Okay. Like, this is bound to happen, man. And like, there should be discretional like information about nutrition.
Yeah, maybe it's like a flip chart. If you want to see it, you can flip it up and look.
Great idea. Because for me, I'm like, I'm not buying it. I can't buy the whole pizza now.
Could you? The whole pizza.
4,800 calories in there. Dude, I think that's the actual number. I could be wrong, but I remember looking up. First off, the cheese pizza has more calories than the pepperoni. Don't know how that happens. I guess they double the cheese or something. But it is close to 5,000 calories in a whole pizza.
One of the worst things I ever ate in my life. It was delicious.
How dare you talk to me about that?
Hey, girl.
Don't call me that.
Peanut butter.
Crunchy.
I used to work at Outback Steakhouse when I was in college. And I ate 2 blooming onions. Okay. And I would take that blooming onion sauce and I would mix it with just drink it. And I'd mix it with like blue cheese or ranch, just like gallons of it. And I ate 2 of them. Then I found out that it was like, I don't know, 600 grams of saturated fat or something. And like
your whole life's
20...
worth of sodium.
Yeah, right.
God, I'm so thirsty. I don't know what's going on.
Forever. I've preserved myself.
How many loaves of that brown bread did you eat on top of it, though?
Dude, we used to get that. We used to get the butter that they serve with the sweet potatoes. It's like a honey butter.
Yeah.
And that brown bread with that honey butter. Good Lord, have mercy.
My one of my teammates in college would order the Awesome Blossom from Applebee's as a meal.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one time we were at dinner, everybody's getting like burgers or whatever, and they're like, Mike, what do you want? I'll have the Awesome Blossom, please. And she's like that's your meal? Like, ew.
Better make it 2.
Yeah, and a Bud Light, please. Yeah, dude, that, yeah, they're pretty tasty.
They're rib sticking.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely had problems later on. I had
grease the skids.
Oh boy, that's what we call the miseries.
Yeah,
when they hit you that night and all day the next day, bubble guts.
Yeah, well, hopefully you weren't in your saddle because that is not fun.
What did you equate that to? Pushing Jell-O through
pushing pudding through a cheese grater. That was one of the worst days of my life.
And then the second time you did it was the second worst. But the second time, at least it didn't go up your back.
Yeah. It was like I felt like an infant. The worst part of that whole experience, we can get into that story at some point in detail, but the worst part of that whole experience was the fact I had to drive myself home.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to have my wife hose me off like a dog.
Please tell me she used a pressure washer.
I had to knock on the window of her office, and be like, "Come outside."
She's like, "Oh, he must have shot a big deer."
No, yeah, right. What do you want? I need you to wash me off. What do you mean wash you off? I had an accident. And it's like October or November. I mean, it's cold out. I had to call her on speakerphone and tell her how to turn the hose bib back on in the basement.
Oh, no.
And then that's how cold it was. This was not a fun experience.
You know, I did that at Magic Kingdom at Disney World. I swear. We went to, I think it was, I don't know which one it is. Which one has all of the different countries? Is that Epcot?
No, that is Disney, but it's like you can do did you try to drink around the world?
Yes, but we went, and then we got sushi, and,
how could this go bad?
So we get on the little trolley, and I'm with my family and extended family, like my brothers and my sisters and their families, my parents, and we're on the trolley coming back, and you stop at each resort on the way back. And I'm talking to this one family on the little trolley, and then all of a sudden I get the rumbles, and I say, this isn't good. So I got off. Before we even got back to our resort, I got off, and I went right inside of this big wilderness cabin, the lodge. And I look back at the bus, and my family is like half the bus. There's like 20 of us. They're looking out the windows like, what? Is he stupid? And I bolted, and I went in, took care of business. Tried to come back out and take a trolley, but they'd stopped the trolleys. Well, they have the boat that goes like from Magic Kingdom to all the different ones. So I went down and got on the boat. When I got down to the dock, I had to run back inside and finish. I got on the boat, and it was only like a 10-minute ride. Dude, before I got back to our dock, I had to hang off the back of the boat at the Magic Kingdom lake. And I just spread chum throughout that lake. It was one of the worst things ever.
Were there other people on the boat?
Yes.
You got your butt hanging off inside.
I'm 100% sure I'm on video somewhere just spackling the backside of the Magic Kingdom boat. Like, that was definitely not the happiest place ever.
Those fish were like, hey, our buddies are back.
So I get back on the dock, and at this point, I'm a mess, right? I didn't have a kill kit with wet wipes in it at that point, right? So, and then I had to take another little bus trolley over to where we were staying. And I got back, and I'm still, having, this is like major food poisoning or something.
Obviously.
Duh. I had to sacrifice my pants, okay, and wipe off and I knocked on the door, and my wife's like, where have you been? Where are your pants? And I'm like, just go get me a towel. She's like, where? No, I'm standing right here. Where are your pants? And I'm like, I shit myself. She's like, you what? I said, I shit myself. And I'm like, and so she just announces, I found him. He shit his pants. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was the big joke. I had to go and take a shower. That was rough, man.
Just leaving a trail like Hansel and Gretel, like your pants and your socks.
We were staying in these cabins, and I just balled my pants up and threw them under the cabin. I said, I'm leaving. There was armadillos rolling into the next day.
God, do you remember we were hunting public land in Maryland, and with Ford, and we were walking in on this trail, and we see like, I think it was a shirt sleeve.
Yep.
About 15 feet later, there's another shirt sleeve, and then there was like a shirt tail, and then there was 2 socks and a pile of poop. That guy was like 40 yards from the parking lot. It was like, and you know what? I didn't really laugh that much at the guy because I'm like, yeah, man, I've been there.
Yep.
Like, what? Looking at your clothes, you're like, what can I live without the easiness? For me,
that's when you embrace public landowner, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I shit where I hunt.
You know, actually, on that same hunt is where I found one of my favorite pieces of gear that I use, which is my headlamp.
Oh, yeah.
You and I were out on that island, and we were coming back in the dark.
Well, I used that when we were on the boat going through. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's in the dark.
It was brighter than that spotlight.
Yeah.
But the headlamp you were using, I was like, dude, where did you get that?
Yeah, it was like 1,300 lumens.
It's insane. It's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I forget the.
I think it's
name.
like I don't know, HC33 or something like that.
It's just one spotlight with a rechargeable battery. Mm-hmm. Dude, that thing is awesome. And it's funny because when we were on that hunt, I was so impressed with that headlamp. I bought one instantly. Mm-hmm. Then, when I was in Texas this year, we were on a blood trail, and we were with the guide, Colton Moore, who's like the coolest dude ever. I want to come back as Colton Moore's guitar and just be caressed by him. Kevin Harlander and 2 camera guys, Coleman and Hunter. Hunter's probably eating snacks. And every one of them were like, where did you get that headlamp? Because it's just so bright. And the battery lasts forever.
Yeah. Even in that turbo mode, you get like hours and hours out of like 1,300 lumens or
Dude,
whatever.
and it's like instant sunshine. It's like the police helicopter bright. It is so bright.
So Nightcore also makes... So Nightcore and Phoenix, those are my 2 favorite by far, and they're both like super high quality. Even I can't destroy them.
Yeah. Well, and these are... And that Phoenix one is like waterproof and whatever. But I just thought it was funny that like I saw yours, I bought it instantly. They saw the one that I bought. They all bought them. You know, and like it's just this referral basis, I guess. Right. It's just like going down. But yeah, that headlamp has been awesome.
Yeah, because you can tone it down to
like nothing,
like almost where it's like this is almost useless, you know, because it's so low, or so bright that, I mean, you can really light up the sky.
Well, and for us, like to have some discretion, like coming
Sure.
in and out, that mode, that like very dim mode, especially in the pitch black. If you have like night vision set in, that is great.
Yep.
But yeah, that has been super helpful. Something else that like, we're going to talk about that work hunting life balance. But one of the things that we really do is we try to map out when we're going to hunt. And it's really, we're really lucky, we're really fortunate that we get to hunt year round and have all this freedom to hunt. But one of the things that I actually think I might have learned this from you, but it's like plan out the days that you're going to hunt. If you get 2 or 3 days a week, and I use Weather Underground, the app, and also the web page to look at like the barometric pressure, to see the fronts. I love looking at that graph of the 10-day movement and seeing what's where and kind of picking those weather events to hunt on the front side of or the back of. Because obviously, we want to shoot deer when we go hunt. And picking those perfect weather days have a much higher probability. And so like that would be a piece of gear that I would say I use religiously. But now we've been able to like mix in some of that Spartan Forge technology.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's new to us.
Yeah, and it's cutting edge too. I mean, they're pulling in so many data points and analyzing it. It's way beyond my primitive monkey brain, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they're doing it because I couldn't figure it out.
For real.
But then you can see it's almost like if our listeners have seen, of course, you've seen those. Outdoor Life and Field and Stream, best days to hunt throughout this month. It's like good, bad, worst.
Yeah.
It's like that on steroids times 10. There's so much data that goes into it. It's not just, well, I pulled this off the Farmer's Almanac. It's going to be good this year.
Granddaddy said it'd be good. No, it's really, really cool. I mean, it's neat technology. And the other thing that I don't think could we hunt without it? Yes. But Onyx makes our life so much better.
It's crucial.
And I realize I'm wearing an Onyx shirt, so it kind of makes me look like a goober, but...
no, that's your face.
I just want to hit you right in the face. Is there anything I can do to change that?
You've got
no, not unless you change your face. No, but
we used to have to print off
those plats.
The plats and maps go onto and all county websites. Man, they're just so easy to navigate. Right?
Yeah, and the people there are so helpful.
Oh, right. So we used to have to print those off, and then you'd have to go out and say, okay, let me measure.
Yeah, from the rear of the house.
From rear of the house, 100 feet, and my step. I'm not bringing a wheel out when I hunt to check these properties out. So you go on Onyx, and I don't know how accurate down to the foot, inch, whatever it is. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
It is very, very close.
And I've had instances where it's surprising to me how few landowners know where their actual property line is. And I've had people that are like, you're in my woods. I'm like, I'm not in your woods.
Let me show you.
Here's where your woods end. Your woods end back there.
Your name is John Smith.
Yeah.
I'm on Mark.
Yeah,
Susie
Rottencrotch's property.
Wow.
And
been there before.
Yeah, she was probably on the boat with you at the Epcot Center.
Oh, man.
Turn away, Timmy. Don't look at it. It's like the sun. Yeah, the Onyx has been just so helpful to have. And I mean, dude, before Onyx, I had my little GPS unit. And I'd take that with me to mark trees that I prepped, and I'd have a different logo. And the fact that I can now drop pins wherever, like on my phone, and just walk right in, or if I'm like, oh, hey, Mr. Smith called, he's seen a lot of deer. I can't hunt there tomorrow, but you can go.
The location.
Here's the tree.
Here's the actual tree.
Yeah, and you can just add it to your map and just go.
Dude, my dad set up sticks on one of our properties. And months before, added a pin, and I went in on a rut hunt this year. He said, go hunt it. It's a great ridge. Deer travel this ridge. And I had never been there. I had never been within 300 yards of this tree. And I went right there, and I said, the sticks have to be here. And I literally looked at the tree right in front of me, and I said, oh, They're the
Let's see if moron's here. The sticks are here.
In my defense, it was dark.
Yeah.
But
you should have used your Phoenix 9000 headlamp.
I did. As soon as I put it on, melt everything mode.
Lightsaber mode.
Oh, there it is.
I'm killing deer with my headlamp, Daddy.
At that point, it's a torch.
Dude, the all kidding aside, though, the ability to share a pin with you, or to even like look on a map and be like, okay, where are you going? Okay, well, I'm going here. You're going here. Like the deer travel here, and to scout electronically, super helpful.
That's been a big efficiency boost. Is being able to electronically scout.
Yeah,
huge. Overlaying the different layers and things, that's been crucial, especially when we're dealing with property lines are very, very important anytime you hunt. But especially when you're on tiny properties, in the burbs where you don't want to cross lines, especially.
Or even in like getting permission to be able to look at an aerial view to see where vegetation lines might be, where there might be like a creek bed, whatever the stuff we're looking for.
So you don't knock on doors and waste time.
Or potentially get permission on a spot that's worthless. Or because every time you knock on a door, you're running the risk of knocking on the door of the lady who's in charge of the neighborhood, and she's an anti-hunter, and now
the whole neighborhood doesn't want you there.
Yeah, the tornado alarm's going off that somebody knocked on her door, right? So, I think that has just been like really changed the way that I hunt, and the fact that it's in my pocket, super cool. What one of the things I wrote down here is truck, right? And so I actually think it's kind of interesting because I recently bought a new truck this year, and I had to go back through setting it up as my hunting rig. And I kind of thought through some different things. I've done some things differently on this truck that I've ever done in the past. But it's important, especially for us, to have a vehicle that's discreet, because we don't want to look like, the crazy redneck in there. You don't want it to look like it's screaming hunter. So we don't have any stickers on the back of our truck, except Hunt Urban stickers. Check them out. And then this year I put a deck system in my truck, which has been super awesome because
organization is going to be off the charts.
Organized. And then I put a topper on it to try and like keep
because you had like a tonneau cover on your previous previous trucks, right?
Yeah, your sticks put a hole through that.
Whoops!
Last year in Turkey.
Oh, they did when we closed them. Jeez, I've jacked your truck up. I'm not even going near this one.
You're not allowed to. Yeah.
Damn it.
I guess I'll walk. Yeah, no. So I like the idea of the topper. Previously, I'd never put a topper on because I'm like, man, I don't know if I really like the way they look. And then also, I wasn't, to me, a truck is a tool, and the truck bed is the tool. And the ability to like stack stuff up really high or whatever is one of the things that's appealing to a truck bed to me.
Yeah, and when you put the deck system in, which is awesome. I mean, one thing that it does is it raises the level of the bottom of your bed, so you lose a little bit of that height. So that's why you put a topper on. So you didn't lose the height.
Yeah, and I actually, after putting the topper on, I
think it looks better.
Yeah, it definitely looks really good. And my truck is a mid-sized truck. I went from a F-150 to a Tacoma, and the the size, there's just not a lot of stuff there. So like if we're going to Ohio, it's easier to pack everything in there without having to be like, okay, does it fit down into this? But now I like the thought that it's like completely covered. People can't get in there. It locks with the remote. It's protected. You can't really see what's in there. It's much easier, discreet way to like transport critters.
Yeah,
it's good.
And some people that we know hunt out of cars, right? My brother's one of them. He has a car, and I'm like, dude, how are you going to do this? He's like, tarp in the trunk, and he throws deer right on that tarp. He has a system down, and he hasn't made a mess, luckily. But then you also have the option of putting one of those cargo hauler, basket, whatever it is, off of the hitch of the back of a vehicle. And those work very, very well. But you have to have, well, we can't use a body bag anymore, but you have to have a tarp or something that's covering those deer. And, in a lot of places throughout the country and in more rural settings, who cares? Everyone's got a deer on the back, and it's kind of like, it's almost like a I don't know, like a trophy or
Yeah,
to
bragging.
say, hey, look, I got a deer, and people will honk their horn and wave, give you a thumbs up. But in the burbs around D.C.,
You're not getting thumbs up.
no, you're not getting thumbs up. You're getting the police called on you because how dare you murder a
Yeah.
deer or something like that. So, we try to be discreet, not only for our own image, but also for the image of the landowners who we have permission on. So we try to be very low key when we drag deer out, when we load deer in our vehicles and things like that. So if there are anti-hunting neighbors, we're not hurting their feelings, and that,
We're trying to tread lightly. I mean, it's respect for the game, respect for the landowner we're on, and also, I think being out of sight, out of mind is really important in what we're doing.
And it's not that difficult to do.
Yeah,
it's really not.
You just bring a change of clothes, and you keep the carcass out of out of plain view, and just be respectful.
That's you actually hit on another point, the change of clothes. That's the other piece of gear that I do keep in the vehicle, and I'll leave it in because I rarely have to really change out of clothes. I'm always wearing some type of street clothes under, or I have something close that I can just put over top. Like a lot of my base layers are, they're non-camo.
Yep.
I don't need camo base layers, so they're olive or tan or whatever. But, if I do have an accident or I fall into a creek or, something, I get, maybe too bloody, something, I have a change of clothes. That's something I do keep.
Or if you have to go knock on a door to get permission, the last thing I want to do is be the 6'3" dude in camo at their front door interrupting dinner. That is not going to go over well.
Yeah.
So it's really important for that like immediate first impression to be one of like, hey, what's this friendly fellow neighbor want? Not,
sure.
What does this dude want in camo?
Please tell me you're not hunting here.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing I have, and I think it's an important one, are boots.
Yeah.
What boots are you rocking, and what are you looking for in your boots?
Right now, I'm wearing the Crispy Colorados. Love them. I specifically got them because I want versatility. I like to go elk hunting every year. I want a boot that's rugged on rocky, difficult terrain, but then I don't have to lock them all the way down, and they're super, super comfortable. And I wear them all the time, just about every day. The one thing I really look for, and I'm thinking about getting another pair, but not Colorados, I'm thinking about getting the Crispy Thors, okay? The difference between the two, for me, the main difference is the sole stiffness. So when you have a really stiff sole, walking across rocky, difficult terrain, it helps even that out. When I'm in a tree on my platform, or any awkward position, if I'm on the edge of a platform, a really soft-soled boot tires my feet out a little bit on any type of, even from standing all day long or standing in a in a tree stand or anything like that. So I like a little bit of a stiffer boot.
Did you say the tree stand word?
Yes. I still wear my saddle in it. But I look for a stiffer sole.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely has to be waterproof and has to be comfortable. And I've gone through many different boots. Those Colorados they're synthetic. So I think the Rand is actually a coated leather, but they're not full leather. I really love those boots.
Those Thors are like super popular. Like Greg, Ernie, Carl, and Jared. We were recently all together. They were all wearing the Thors, and I'm like, I actually had
nerds.
Yeah, nerds. I had my my little slip-on bean boots. I'm like, but they swear by them. They love
they're
them.
Awesome.
And they have a shank. Do they have a metal shank in them? I think they do.
I don't know.
They might. I'm pretty certain they said they do. But there is, to your point, I often find myself leaning back with my feet on the edge of the platform.
Yeah, so the sole of your foot is on the edge.
Yes.
That's exactly why I like a stiffer sole.
Yep, and having a metal shank in that really helps because what that'll do is it'll evenly distribute the load across your foot instead of having that one pressure point to where you're like constantly kind of fidgeting around.
It's like with a lot of the rubber boots, the knee-high rubber boots, a lot of them don't have that shank.
Yep.
So they're soft on the edge. That the boot sole will actually fold over that edge some. When we sick a deer hunt, a lot of times we're wearing those knee highs or we're wearing hip boots or waders. Those definitely don't have a shank in them. So I have to adjust my feet a little bit on my platform when I'm wearing those types of boots.
I'm laughing right now because I'm just thinking back to the last time we hunted together on the shore.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped off Ford in the boat.
Yep.
And we're walking back, and I did not step directly on the frag ball. I stepped in the middle, and I just went sinking into the bog. And I remember just yelling, "Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!" And I'm like instantly up to and the only thing that came out of my mouth was, "Oh no! Oh no! Billy! Oh no! Oh no!"
Like,
just like sinking into the bog.
And sound just carries across that water, so all the sick deer, you can hear them running away from us.
Yeah,
Bye.
But we had a great time.
That was fun.
We actually did get within like 10 yards of a sick deer.
In that Phragmites, man, you can't see them.
Couldn't see him.
Nope.
And they boogered.
Yep.
We did kill on that trip, though.
We did.
Which was awesome.
We did. It took me a couple shots. The one and only time I gun it. If I'd have had my bow, I would have shot.
Dude, the audio from that clip is so great. These deer are walking in, and Billy's like, crack! Like getting your... that was a Thompson Center, right?
Yeah.
And you're like trying to... the hammer wouldn't cock, right? Because it wasn't like fully seated.
Yeah, that's right.
But the in the audio, I was actually editing this video recently, and I'm like playing around with it. It's like, smack! And you're like playing with it. And you're like, God damn it! And smack! It's like, and I was like, whoopoosh! Because I mean, it was really windy that day.
It was that tree. Remember, there was only roots on one side of the tree, and we're both in it.
Yeah,
and we got about 500 pounds up in that tree at that point.
Of course, we run a 4.40.
Yeah, I wish.
But no, and I actually will never forget. You were like, the tree would blow, and it'd be like pop, 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 pop. And I was like, what is that popping? And you're like, those are roots snapping.
Yeah. And
I was like, yeah, okay. And you're like, no, for real. And I mean, of course, you're a horticulturist, so I should listen to you.
And then we got down, and you could see.
Yeah.
That tree should have gone down.
Yeah. And I just remember I was like, well, how deep do you think the root ball is? And you're like, oh, it's probably at least like 2.5 or 3 inches. And I was like, what? And you're like, bro, we are in a swamp. The roots go out, not down.
Yeah, because it was like straight water.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God.
We're gonna die.
Yeah, it's gonna be like
at least we'll die together.
Holding hands like in the Notebook. But more Blair Witchy, because it would be all on video of just the tree going splat.
I wonder if Tethered would have paid for our funerals because we were wearing their saddles.
Hopefully Carl would have like sewn us a really cool like Molly body bag.
Maybe.
I know that Carl would have made it good.
He would have hooked it up.
Yeah. You got any other pieces of gear that you can think of?
No, I think the only other things that really change would be different seasons will use different calls, things like that. But I mean, those are the only real.
Yeah, it's important. Interesting you mentioned that. I've started bringing a turkey diaphragm call with me in the woods, and what I will do is when I'm walking on, like, inevitably, if I get to a point where they're really crunchy leaves, I'll just take that turkey call and just kind of cluck a little bit. And it's amazing. I've gotten up to the point where I've been like 10 yards away from a deer. And then they're like, you're not a turkey. Right? Because obviously turkeys aren't down on the ground in the dark. But
Or 250 pounds.
Yeah. Well, if you find any of those, call me. But yeah, I mean, they don't really associate the fact that like the turkeys are roosting at that time of day. So that's been helpful. The other thing that I absolutely love, I'm not wearing my Garmin watch right now. I love having my texts come through on my watch.
Oh yeah.
Or being able to see who's calling.
Yeah.
Because like if you and I are hunting together and you're like, you know, you can text and be like deer at 2:30 or whatever, and I can just look at it without having to be like
pull my phone out
exactly.
and make that extra movement.
Yes.
It's just I look at my watch.
Yeah. Although I have had to put it on do not disturb mode because I find myself when I'm working during the day that it's like vroom, 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 vroom. I'm like, God, okay, and I'm like, you know, I'm super distractible, so I'm like, oh, squirrel, you know. Like,
the worst part is being in a meeting with someone and your phone or your watch buzzes and you're like, and they're like, oh, you got to go. Time's up.
Yeah,
you need to go. I'm like,
exactly.
no, I'm just getting a text, and they're like, oh, well, that's more important than my face, right?
No, that's actually a Pornhub alert. I'm subscribed to this channel. That's what I've heard happens. I don't know personally.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you don't, then don't listen to it. If you're still here, you probably did. So, thanks for tuning in, and plenty more fun stuff coming soon. If there's anything gear related that you're interested in having us elaborate more on, I don't know how we could possibly elaborate more, but if you
but any of those items that we talked about, or even any suggestions that you guys have that might help us,
shoot us a message, leave your comments below, and we love hearing from you guys. And also, if there are topics that you want to know our opinion on or want us to cover, get in touch with us. Let us know. We're happy to do it, and we got some fun guests that we're getting lined up right now, so should be good. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys. Thanks.